Thank you very much, Madam President. This is a photograph of a store in Palatine, Illinois called Soccer Plus. Bob Nautrip opened this store and a couple of others and sold sporting equipment in the suburbs of Chicago. Had a pretty good business going, and then he ran into something called showrooming. What that consists of is people who would walk into his store and say, I'd like to try on a pair of shoes here or some equipment. They'd find exactly what they want. They'd write down all the information and say, thanks, Bob. Walk out, order it on the internet, and pay for it, not paying sales tax on their purchase. So Bob, every time he tried to sell something and collect the sales tax in Illinois, which he was required to collect, was at a disadvantage of the people who were buying over the internet. Is it fair? Well, the Supreme Court said it's up to Congress to decide if it's fair. It's up to Congress to decide whether internet sales should be subject to state and local sales taxes. That's why we're here. And from my way of thinking, this is just a question of fundamental fairness. We're not talking about imposing a new tax, not at all. We're talking about existing taxes. In my state of Illinois, incidentally, when I buy something on the internet, I have a legal obligation to pay sales tax on it, but it's done voluntarily. Many times it is not collected when I make the purchase. I do it on my state income tax return each year. Most people don't do it at all. So the sales tax is never collected on the internet purchase. The purpose of this bill is to allow states, if they wish voluntarily, to start having internet retailers collect sales tax for the sales that are made over the internet to people living in their state. Voluntary. So the states can decide whether to do it or not. Well, is this a new tax? No. In 46 states, it's an existing tax. It is now going to be collected, as opposed to voluntarily added to an income tax return by individuals. So it's not a new tax, and it's certainly not a tax on the internet itself. It's just that happens to be the point of purchase. We have on the floor here my friend Senator Baucus of Montana. He is from one of the 4 states in our nation that don't have a sales tax. And they, of course, are concerned about this issue. So let me make it clear. Anyone purchasing an item on the internet in Montana is not going to have to pay sales tax if Montana doesn't have a sales tax. The same thing is going to be true for New Hampshire, as well as Delaware and Oregon, the 4 states that have no sales tax. So we're not imposing a new sales tax on Montana or any other state. Those that have the tax will be collecting it under our bill. Now, how about the internet retailers? Who's going to be covered by this? We created an exemption, as Senator Enzi said. The exemption said you have to have $1 million in sales on the internet before you have to do this. $1 million. How many internet retailers would that mean? We think about 1,000. 975 sell more than $1 million worth of goods each year on the internet. So about 1,000 retailers on the internet would be collecting the sales tax. They'd look at my home address and they would assess the tax that's owed. Wait a minute. How will that be assessed? Do they have to, each and every internet retailer, go through the burden of establishing this technology, these computer programs? No. The burden is on the states to provide the computer software for the internet retailers, not at the expense of the internet retailers. So it is a simple process, and it's a fair process. Bob Nautrip was a good businessman. He hired a lot of local people. He collected sales tax, he paid his property tax, and with that money, they built this road right out in front of his shop. They provided the police and fire services, the things that are part of civilization, living in America. He paid the taxes on this, and he lost his business because of it. His competitors weren't collecting the taxes. I find it interesting, though. I recently made a purchase on Amazon, and they collected the sales tax from me in Illinois, which they can do. Amazon supports our bill, incidentally. And they delivered it. I believe they used the Postal Service this time, but sometimes they use UPS or FedEx. Their trucks and their delivery people use the streets of Chicago and the streets of Springfield. They rely on the basic services we all count on. So even the internet sales, those are dependent on some basic services that are going to be provided by a community. I've heard so many speeches on the floor of the Senate about how much we love and venerate and respect small business people. We're told if this economy is going to get well and move forward, it's going to be driven by small business expanding their employment. Well, I believe that. I've seen it over and over again in Illinois and every state that I've been visiting. But if they're going to have a fighting chance to compete, they ought to be on a level playing field, as Senator Enzi said. There ought to be a basic fairness here. If Bob Nautrip's business had to collect sales tax for sales to Illinois residents, why wouldn't those who purchase over the internet be under the same obligation? That's what this says. It basically establishes that responsibility. Now, of course, we have a lot of support for this. The support from governors and mayors and business developers and, of course, small business. So if people want to come to the floor and decide what side they want to be on this, I urge them to be on the side of the same small businesses that they've given speeches about over and over and over again. I believe in these men and women. Many of them have gone into small business and taken a lot of risks. They are the backbones of our community. There's no question about it. Time and time again, we go to them to make sure that they're going to build the economy and hire the people that we need in our local communities. So let's give them a fighting chance. The Marketplace Fairness Bill will do that. Senator Enzi was on this bill before me. Senator Dorgan of North Dakota preceded me. And when Senator Dorgan retired, I asked him if I could join him. But I thank you for your continued leadership on this. As you probably heard, Senator Enzi, before he came to the Senate, was a small businessman himself. So he knows this firsthand. So let's stand up for business and retailers across America, give them a fighting chance, let them be competitive, let them continue to hire and be good neighbors in our communities, and let's say to the internet retailers, we're glad you're doing well, but play by the same rules. Make sure there's a level playing field.